Hello and welcome. Um, I am Elder Small, and I'd like to thank you for joining me in this brief session wherein I will review Chapter 9 of my book, You Deserve More. Chapter 9 is entitled Consciousness. And so, as I begin, let me reference one of our brilliant scholars. His name is Dr. Bynum. Dr. Bynum informs us that the deeper self, that is, human consciousness, is not a product of the brain. It is not the brain. The brain is a physical organ in our heads that developed over time to support the function of the mind. Our minds, rather than our brains, are responsible for our ability to think, to feel, and to engage in physical activity. It's crucial to understand this distinction as many people the world over mistakenly use the terms brain and mind interchangeably. In simple terms, we can touch and examine the human brain because it is physical, while the mind is non physical and cannot be touched or seen with the naked eye. Not only do people believe that the brain and mind are the same, but they also tend to think that the mind is the source of consciousness. However, consciousness is not derived from the mind. Rather, the mind is an attribute of consciousness. Consider the arm, for instance. The hand is an attribute of the arm, but it is not the arm itself. In the same way, the mind is not consciousness. Rather, it is an attribute of consciousness. Shamans and sages have dedicated their lives to exploring the human mind. In doing so, they have discovered that deep in meditation, consciousness can withdraw from both the brain and the mind. In, in the deep state of meditation, they found a core of consciousness beyond time and change, which they referred to as the Atman or the Self. The existence of human perception, that is, how we perceive life around us, is also an attribute of consciousness. Both the mind and perception and their existence are attributes or functions of consciousness. The important point here is that both the mind and perception serve as transponders that allow us to distinguish one form from another. For example, a car and a train, the difference between a house and a tent. The mind and perception are portals. They are portals of differentiation that allow us to differentiate one form from another. The mind itself exists as a large conglomerate of electromagnetic energy units called ptakai. Take a moment to imagine the mind as a massive spider web. This complex structure illustrates the way the brain is laid out and how it functions. The symmetrical design of a spider's web resembles a net. Spiders spin these intricate webs using silk, which not only serves as a means to catch food, but also creates an interconnected structure that resembles a grid. Imagine the bugs, the flies, and other insects caught in a spider's web. Now envision these bugs as bands of energy, little emanations of light traveling along the strands of the web, coming and going as they move. In this analogy, consciousness is represented by the spider. The spider creates the web and infuses it with units of electronal energy known as ptakai, like cars and trucks moving on a network of interconnected highways. The energy units, referred to as ptakai, move along interconnected strands within the spider's web. The spider's web, along with the energy units traveling along its strands, represents the mind, perception, and the source of how we as human beings recognize and categorize the innumerable life forms that exist in our universe. Thus, life in all of its manifested forms gives rise to thoughts, imaginations, feelings, emotions, and desires, all of which are energy units moving along the strands of the spider's web, the structures of the mind. The mind is a multi level template that mirrors the multi dimensional construction of the universe. Picture this multi-dimensional construction as a spider's web, which its layers are intricately woven one over another, resembling the structures of a tennis net or a soccer net. What I'm trying to say is that the physical world is a manifestation of consciousness, and consciousness consists of pure energy. This energy fits into the mold of human concepts of the divine. Everything we perceive is divine energy. The human mind is an emanation of the divine mind, and it is increasingly being recognized that that creation arises from thoughts emanating from the divine mind. Thoughts give rise to creation, and creation is a manifestation of consciousness, and consciousness is an expression of the divine mind. Human beings are moving beyond the belief that we are merely bags of flesh and bones destined to deteriorate and die. Modern physicists report that our physical bodies are manifestations of energy, and their research here in the 21st century corresponds with records of ancient civilizations. The study of atoms, which is the nature of visible and invisible forms, sheds light on understanding the nature of consciousness. Atoms consist of a nucleus containing positively charged protons and neutrons which have no charge. The protons and neutrons are surrounded by a swarm of negatively charged orbiting electrons. What we seem to perceive with our senses is, in reality, only different aspects of the same substance. That is, when energy vibrates at a high speed, it appears as light material such as gas and electricity. When it vibrates at a lower speed, it appears as a solid object such as a rock or metal. But if we could see matter for what it is, we would see structures that appear as small planets with moons circling around them at lightning speed. All of this goes to say that the world we live in and all that we behold via sensory perception is composed of not only energy in varying degrees of density, that is, vibration, but the energy is intelligent. Therefore, matter and energy are emanations of cosmic intelligence, which is just another way of saying intelligent consciousness. Dr. Bynum tells us, and I quote, child development and neonatology, along with near death experience research, confirm that we are conscious for months before our physical birth and for an extended period after our physical death. As one 7-year old boy put it, death is like walking into the mind. Though an incredible revelation, the 7-year old explains that death is osmosis with with consciousness, or a journey into the deeper dimensions of the mind. Our minds are portals or gateways into reality, immortality, or what is referred to as eternal life. The journey into the mind is a journey beyond our physical world, the space we inhabit, and our association with time. Immortality and eternal life are, simply put, anthropomorphic expressions of consciousness. And so, let me stop there, and in doing so, grant that you may experience the greatest good and supreme intelligence in your life. Dua, Hotep, Ashe.